Hello, my name is Mara, and today we are going to be talking about Elizabeth Barrett Browning. So she was born on March 6th in 1806 in Coxhoe Hall in Durham, England. She was a activist for the feminine voice, and she really wanted to get the feminine opinion, and she was just a women's activist, and I really wanted to highlight that in the first slide that we see her in, so that's why I wanted to add that into the top right corner of the image right there, that represent women's rights, because that's exactly what she did. Like, a lot of her writing, she talked about many topics and issues, but that was like one of the main issues that she talked about. And the my voice part, I wanted to highlight that in the beginning because she was under her, like a lot of women were under her father's authority, and she felt like she didn't have a voice. So she really wants to get her voice out now that, because she was so um, adamant about doing that. So eventually in 1846, she met Robert. They got married, and her father did not approve of that whatsoever because, again, he was like, my daughter's not going to marry this guy. But she was like, I'm going to do it anyways. And that kind of translated, and he ended up disowning her because of that. And she never really kind of batted an eye from that. Like, she was like, okay, whatever, bye. And she had such intense love with Robert, like throughout the years and stuff. They wrote many love letters with to each other, and she wrote many to him. And these actually ended up becoming the sonnets for the Portuguese from the Portuguese, which is composed of 44 sonnets of love letters that she wrote to Robert over the years. And the reason actually why she named it sonnets from the Portuguese is because she was kind of shy to tell people that these were her feelings and stuff that she felt towards Robert. So she wanted to be like, oh, actually, I just translated this stuff. So that's what this is. So that's why it's named that, for anyone who was wondering. And I really liked I feel like the background looked kind of like rustic and romantic and stuff, especially with the roses and stuff. And then the writing in the middle kind of looks like, the love letters that they would be giving each other, like very authentic and stuff. And I really wanted to highlight that in these slides. Yeah. And she also wrote a lot about slavery. So her father actually owns sugar plantations in Jamaica, and that's where he would make a lot of his money off of. And she grew up very fortunate and very rich and stuff because of this. But just because her father did this and she grew up this way doesn't mean she agreed with it. And she was actually very against slavery and stuff. And so that was, if it wasn't about like women empowerment, like the feminine voice and stuff, she was definitely like writing about issues like slavery and like child labor and stuff like that. She was very passionate and stuff like that. So I wanted to highlight that in this slide. I, put some pictures depicting like images of slavery and stuff. I put words are weapons, let your voice be the sword. She was very, adamant about doing that through literature and stuff. So I really wanted to put how powerful your words can be and stuff. Yeah. So yeah, the Robert and Elizabeth were very in love with each other, and I the line on the bottom says, "I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life, and if God choose, I shall but love thee better after death." This is from Sonnet 43. This is one of her most famous and pieces that she's known for. It's part of the sonnets from the Portuguese. It's one of the sonnets from there. And yeah, yeah, her and Robert had really like intense love with each other. They became one of the most passionate, artistically enriching couples of the Victorian era, and they actually lived happily together for many years in Florence, Italy, until she passed away there on June 29th, 1861. Um, During her childhood, like I said, she was under her father's authority and stuff, so that wasn't already making it like too nice for her. And then on top of that, so this is a picture of a country home, an England country home. This is what they look like in England and stuff, because again, her family was rich from the sugar plantations that they made often from workers in Jamaica, or slaves in Jamaica, I should say. They were not workers; they were forced by their own, like, but whatever. Um, and at the age of 14, she got into this really bad horse riding accident, which put her into severe chronic pain and stuff. And because of that, she was not allowed to really go outdoors anymore because she couldn't really do any activities. So there was no point in her going outside. So she was stuck indoors all the time and just around like that negativity. And she was in chronic pain. So not only did I put the picture of this house, but I also put a filter on it. Like I don't really know what other filters say other than Twilight filter, because that's what it reminds me of. But it's like a cold filter on it. And I wanted to like I did that so you can kind of compare that to like her depression or like her chronic pain. You like put that with negativity. Usually bright colors mean like happiness and stuff, and that was not what the vibes were when she was a kid living like this. So I wanted to kind of highlight that for sure. Yeah, so she was definitely a women's activist. She believed that poetry was both a political and emotional way of getting your voice out there and your ideas. And she would discuss issues, and she believed that it was important to discuss issues that would raise social awareness and inspire change and stuff. And actually, she has one of her other famous pieces is called Aurora Lee. It's actually thing of like 9 books, 9 novels, and it's about this woman who is a poet, and she's trying to just get her stuff out there into the world of men and the social hierarchy of women can't make it and stuff, because especially at this time women didn't really like step up and like have their own jobs, like they weren't really like the main supporters and stuff. So this all of these stories were just like her journey and stuff, very inspiring. um so yeah, this slide she had, I thought it was just a little fun fact. She had a cocker spaniel. I kind of made it like the background picture a little like bright and stuff because she loved her dog. And I feel like, again, like I just said, you associate bright colors with like happiness and stuff. So yeah, so bright colors in the background because she loves her dog, and the black and white for the nostalgia as well. She His name was Flush. It was a cocker spaniel, and she actually wrote a sonnet or a poem for him called "To Flush My Dog." And yeah, just to quickly go over that part. And then as for the last slide, Elizabeth had inspired many writers after and even during her time. She obviously inspired her husband, Robert Browning, because he was also a poet just like her. And yeah, a lot of his writing and works, you can definitely tell, was inspired by his wife. And then we also have, right on the right side, we have Christina Rossetti, that she was also very heavily inspired by Elizabeth's work, as well as Emily Dickinson, which is the last person on the bottom. So, and all of these were major, major impactful like writers and people in the literary world. So I think it's really important that I highlight that these people were inspired by Elizabeth Browning, because I didn't know, and I thought that was very interesting. So yeah, as for my questions, one, have you ever felt an intense emotional love like Elizabeth and Robert had with each other in your own personal lives and your relationships? Two, how do you think Elizabeth's life would have turned out if she had never met Robert? Because again, a lot of her work was heavily inspired by romance and her love with Robert. So, how do you think her life would have turned out? And number three, have you ever had a person enter your life and completely change it, like how Robert had for Elizabeth? Because think about her. She was under her dad's authority, didn't really have much of a say in anything. Robert came in and she decided to rebel against her father, fall madly in love, and like run off with this guy and like live this beautiful life. Like, like he completely changed everything. So, have you guys ever had anybody just enter your life and just completely change it? Thank you.